Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Welcome into our special Wednesday Care 11 edition of the Minnesota Football Party. We'll meet the full crew in a second. Want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Might come in handy for the Super Bowl. Plenty of Vikings talk coming at you for the next hour or so. J.J. McCarthy with some interesting comments about his past season and what the future holds. Will make a case for the Vikings to pull off some blockbuster trades, plus Super Bowl bold predictions, and we will craft our elite Super Bowl party in a fun activity to end the show. But before we get started, I want to remind folks to subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. We appreciate that. That's the YouTube channel where you can find all of our shows. Also, find our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's meet today's panel, and let's go around the horn.
Who's starting, me?
Go for it.
Ron sounded like he was going to say something. I'm Julia. I am Care 11 sports reporter. And hopefully this podcast turns my day around because I had to take a cold shower this morning thanks to my building.
Oh, man.
Reggie Wilson, sports director at Care 11, and J.J. McCarthy. What a humble kid, right?
And I'm Ron Johnson, former Gophers and NFL wide receiver, Gophers Hall of Famer. And I'm going to talk about who's going to get snubbed in the NFL Honors Awards, but also potential Hall of Famer for the Minnesota Vikings.
And I'm Sam Ekstrom, once again, executive producer here at Locked On Sports Minnesota. And is J.J. McCarthy pouring cold water on the notion that he is the entrenched starter for next year? These comments kind of stood out to me. He was on Rich Eisen yesterday. We're going to have to put on our interpreter hats. Tell me what you hear in J.J. McCarthy's comments. Starts off by saying that last year was really hard, if I'm going to be straight up. And then looking ahead to 2025, our conversations have just been about nothing but the greatest thing for the Minnesota Vikings. At the end of the day, there are a lot of things that are certainly above my pay grade and some things above his, I think referring to Kevin O'Connell. He's the one that has the pen last on the field, and that's about all I know. All I can ask for is a fair opportunity. That's the one thing that I feel like everybody's given, and it's fundamental. When money gets involved, things get complicated and reps get skewed, and there's different things that come into the whole political world that everyone talks about. But I really just have to focus on controlling what I can control. My feelings don't matter. I'm not getting any grace. There's no sympathy. This is the big leagues. To me, as he gets going in that comment, that to me sounds like he's trying to talk himself into not having a pity party. And the reasons would be obvious. You're drafted as the first round pick, the quarterback of the future, and then to have those plans change on you would be tough to deal with. And he's talking as if the plans are changing on him, that he might not be the guaranteed quarterback of the future. That's what I heard in my J.J. McCarthy language filter going through my head. Julia, what did you hear in those comments?
Yeah, I would agree. I think also this is like a guy that's just trying to navigate a position that he's never been in before. And he's also facing, adversity that he didn't expect at this time last year when it came to getting drafted or wherever he would land. So I think you're right in saying it's kind of him trying to like talk himself off the ledge a little bit. But I also think he's trying not to say the wrong thing. And he's trying not to give like false hope in any kind of direction. And I think he's trying to say like, hey, this is above my pay grade. This is not something like all I can do is my very best. And at the end of the day, like it's a take it or leave it kind of situation. But yeah, it's when he started to say when money gets involved, things get complicated and reps get skewed and there's different things that come into the whole political world that everyone talks about. I don't know if maybe he's just been like too chronically online, and maybe that's why he's saying that, because what is everyone talking about right now is the quarterback situation with the Vikings, right? And so, yeah, I think he did his best to be politically correct in answering this question, but I think it also gives you a little bit of an idea of how he's just feeling in general, which is probably a little uneasy about the whole situation.
Yeah, there was certainly transparency there, which I can appreciate, Ron. But it didn't really. I guess it made me wonder where he's at mentally. If he's cool with this, if it doesn't go his way, if Darnold comes back, I was kind of caught off guard. I thought it would be maybe a little more optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I tweeted the video right away because it's a business, and I like the approach he's taking. The approach he's taking is, this is not my job. Like he's very, like, I think he's being realistic. Like, it's not his job. We don't know what's about to happen. We don't know if Sam Darnold's going to sign a cheap deal, because he's like, look, I don't really want to go anywhere else. Like, I like the Minnesota Vikings. They made me really good. They got me into a Pro Bowl. Maybe another year with Kevin O'Connell and allow J.J. McCarthy to sit for a year. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And we all talk about the Jordan Love getting to sit. We talked about the Patrick Mahomes sitting for a little bit. Like, we talked Aaron Rodgers getting to sit. And there's other opportunities where you look at Peyton Manning playing right away, and he went 3-13. He talked about that and how bad that was. And, we saw his commercial. I think him and Eli had a commercial with the Gatorade about that, about how bad his rookie year was and how hard he had to work. So there's two sides of this. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to it, because we've seen Peyton have a terrible rookie year, then bounce back. We've seen Brett Favre have a terrible rookie year and bounce back. But we've also seen more, lately guys sitting. And so J.J. McCarthy is trying to be very open and honest about it. I think also he's human. And you're right, Sam, the human came out of him to say, like, he's probably thrown some pretty pity parties. Like, he's probably had some times when he's depressed. I mean, we've had Joey Harrington on, form another third pick overall type guy, second pick overall type guy. I think he was third because Julius Peppers was second in our class. David Carr was one. So, yeah, so Joey Harrington was on, and he talked about that, like the pressure of being a top quarterback. And that's where Sam Darnold was. And now J.J. McCarthy, top 10 quarterback. What's that pressure like? Am I having fun? Nobody cares because I'm a millionaire. Like, I think he's trying to self-talk himself out of that, but also to be vulnerable to say, hey, look, I'm human. I'm going through a lot, but I'm gonna do what I need to do. But also you see reports saying that he's 100% healthy. He's able to compete and do everything this offseason now. He's not held back. Like, that second surgery didn't set the timeline back much. So I think that's the other key to this. But, he's right. At the end of the day, Kevin O'Connell has the final say of who's on that field. And, he's like, we're not having conversations like, man, this season's going to be great. Like, I picked that up. Like, if him and Kevin O'Connell had been having, like, it's your show conversations, he would have brought that up. Like, Kevin O'Connell's put a lot of pressure on me to go do this, to do that. He's like, look, man, we've kind of talked about what it could look like, but we don't know. And I think that's very honest and open. And, yeah, I think he's probably been a little bit down, and he's trying to get out of it.
Yeah. He could have said, I'm preparing as if I'm the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to prepare hard every week as if I'm the starter. Like, that's kind of the language I would have expected, and it's skewed a little differently than that. And Reggie, I can imagine what's going through his mind. He's thinking, if Sam Darnold comes back to this team, I could be traded. I don't know if he bought a $15 million house like Luka did in Dallas, but McCarthy certainly has been planning to lay roots down. I think
he did. He bought Joe Mauer's house.
He bought Joe Mauer's house. That signing bonus is gone. But yeah, he's laid roots down. I think he was going to get married. Maybe he already is married. So the disappointment was palpable, I thought, in those comments.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I really like J.J. McCarthy. And here's why. We talked to Sam Darnold all season. And, I think maybe we got a sly grin from him like 3 or 4 times. But usually it was so much player speak that, I hardly even wanted to use any sound bites from him this season, just because it was just, just trying to go 1-0 each day, just want to, keep trusting my eyes and my feet. Like, that was like every single week with him. J.J. McCarthy, it was refreshing. And it was something that I really, picked up on from the first time I talked to him, is that he's going to be somebody who is going to maybe not wear his emotions on his sleeve per se, but he was going to be a lot more forthcoming, and you were going to get a lot more from him. And there was so much that he said. I think, some of it was some word vomit. Some of it was just like him just getting it out. But also, you just saw that, after a year in this thing, he's understanding how much of a business the NFL is. And this is someone who has had success in every single stop that he's had. His high school in Chicago, then he transfers to IMG, then he goes to Michigan, gets a chance to compete for the starting job, eventually takes the starting job, only loses a game, wins the national championship. Like, this is like the first real adversity that he has faced in a very long time. And I can understand like being able to come in and just say, look, I'm going to give him my best shot to try to win this job and compete and see where it stacks up. But that was taken away from him because he was injured. Like, he didn't even get a chance to be out there and show what he can do and challenge Sam Darnold for the job. And so I can understand where he's coming from, where he's just like, look, man, nothing is going to be given to me. So I'm just going to, he even sank back to the Jim Harbaugh-ism. I'm going to attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. It was just like, man, you went deep in the bag for that one. Like, okay, somewhere Harbaugh was just like, yeah, you are. But I think, I think though, it just shows that he understands now that nothing is given and that he needs to go out there and earn the job that he wants. And it's interesting though, because, the last time, we heard from Kevin O'Connell regarding J.J. McCarthy's future was right after he went down with that injury. And he talked about how this is a guy who we believe Minnesota should be excited about from a fan perspective, that he's the franchise quarterback of this team moving forward. I don't think he's moved off of that, but maybe like the conversations that they've had haven't been as pointed in those regards lately. But Kevin O'Connell is a guy that, he's not a person who gives you a whole lot to be definite on when you talk to him. He says a lot without saying much at all. And I think maybe some of that, maybe rubs off on McCarthy, and it's just like, well, he's not been overtly, telling me it's my job, but I think, it's just a little bit of a game here in the offseason. And look, he's going to have to go out there and earn it. And I think he has no problem with that. If he's healthy, he wants to go out there and compete and earn the job. And he just basically is like, look, I know it's not going to be given to me.
Yeah. Ron, here's where I'm at this point. Now that the dust is settled, we're a month removed from the end of the season. I think I'm at the stage where if McCarthy's not the guy, if they do bring back Darnold, I think there would be a shred of disappointment for me. I think I would have to talk myself back in to Sam Darnold because I'm so captivated by the prospect of getting all this money to spend around this rookie quarterback who has so much promise. You look at what KOC has done with other quarterbacks. You think about what he could do with a clean easel to paint his picture with J.J. McCarthy. I think I would be a little bummed if it didn't go the McCarthy way at this point. That's where my emotions are at. How about yours?
Yeah, I don't think I care, to be honest. I really don't. This is why I trust Kevin O'Connell. I think he's going to have a plan for what he's trying to do. I've always looked at the NFL as a business. And so if they get Sam Darnold and it doesn't work again, like you can't get lightning in a bottle twice, move on. If they move on from Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy is trash, we're going to be like, dang, I wish we had kept Sam Darnold. Like you can't, there's no way to win completely unless either J.J. McCarthy goes out there and kills it or Sam Darnold has an absolute NFL MVP year again. And so that's the only two options. You can't bring Sam Darnold back and he struggle, and you can't start J.J. McCarthy and he struggle, because the boos are going to be loud if J.J. McCarthy struggles. And that's where I think Kevin O'Connell is probably sitting. That's why he probably hasn't given his green light to J.J. McCarthy. I mean, he's free to do everything now. And, after the Super Bowl, I think it's a week off or something like that. And then I think that's when we'll start to get more of a picture, because they'll get to work with him. Because right now they're not supposed to do anything. Like, he's supposed to be on his own throwing, and, the coaches can stand around and walk by the doors and act like they don't see him and stand up on the perch and do all the stuff they do. But then I think after a week or two after the Super Bowl, then they're allowed to do some of the OTA stuff, see him out there, see him throw. And I think that's what they're waiting on. I think that's what they want to see. They want to see what he looks like. Can he do this? Can he get going? before they start to pin that or pencil, as JJ McCarthy said, or pin. I think he said pin. Before he starts to pin in, like, okay, McCarthy QB1, because they don't do it. Like all the teams right now, like all their depth charts say something about like season's over. We'll bring you the 2025 depth chart whenever we can. I think that's what they're waiting on. So no, I wouldn't be disappointed. I wouldn't. If they brought Sam Darnold back, I feel like, you know what, I get it. It's a 1-year thing to try to get it going.
I think now, between now and minicamp is a really big time for JJ. You know, there were times where we saw, you know, the cameras on him and, you know, games during last season, and it's like, woo, he is slim. Like he needs to bulk up. Like I think he needs to attack this offseason with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, but also attack this offseason, you know, trying to get in as much football shape as possible and really just attack this thing and come back and be ready to go. And so I'm looking forward to if they bring Sam Darnold back, I think that doesn't necessarily signify to me that they've lost confidence or faith in McCarthy. Maybe they like the synergy that they built, but I think you have to see what you have in McCarthy. I saw Hembo was like, yeah, Myles Garrett for JJ McCarthy. Who says no? And I'm just like, the Vikings should say no. Like, I do understand that Myles Garrett is a generational talent, but you don't know that JJ McCarthy is a generational talent yet because he hasn't gotten out there to prove himself. And you traded up, granted it was just a spot, but you traded up to get McCarthy in the draft. Like, you got to see it through and see what you have in him. And, you know, as Ron said, if he's trash, you know, like that, you know, it happens. You miss on picks sometimes, but like to not even see what you have at a guy that you drafted 10th overall and just kind of let him go and you go to the future with Darnold or whoever, I just think it would be a mistake.
Yeah, Julia, I keep thinking in terms of stocks. I think Kwesi has rubbed off on me as, you know, the former Wall Street guy, because is it ever a good idea if a stock is kind of low, struggling, fledgling, and then it takes off one day? Is that the time to buy? I'm not so sure. That was Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is the anomaly stock that spiked. So then you're buying high on Sam Darnold. You're literally buying him almost at his peak value. His peak value was probably like after the Packers game, and it went down a little bit after the playoff game. But you're buying high on Sam Darnold. That's what worries me. Does it go well to make big investments with quarterbacks that have maybe an overinflated value? I like the value of J.J. McCarthy because he could be as good as Sam Darnold at a 10th of the cost. That's why I'm such a McCarthy fan at this point in time, because I think you can team build with him so much better, and he might even have the capacity to be a Joe Burrow. You don't know. You don't know what you have, and that intrigues me enough to want to roll the dice with him.
Interesting. I don't know. How expensive do you think Sam Darnold's going to be, though?
Minimum $30 million a year.
Yeah. I do agree with Ron's point of like, I don't really care because Kevin O'Connell in charge of a quarterback, like that's like almost like leaving a baby with Jesus. You know, you're just like, okay, we trust.
That was a good turn of phrase. Leaving a baby with Jesus.
I do think I have said this a few times already where it's interesting to me just as like somebody, I'm not a Vikings fan, but I'm a fan of like sport and the stories that come out of it. I think we really need to see Kevin O'Connell develop and succeed with one more quarterback before we can fully decide that he's a quarterback whisperer, because he needs 3 in order to really cement how successful he is at developing these quarterbacks. So for me, honestly, I just as somebody who also like just likes the entertainment of it all, would love to see JJ McCarthy go out there and just see what he's got. But I will agree with Reggie and say like he has some serious work to do in this offseason, which obviously everybody knows, right? Like in the building, that's their job. But we'll have to see what he looks like come May, and then come training camp and see, because I don't think we're going to get a real answer on this until like after the preseason's over, like at least the public won't. The team will probably have obviously an idea, but I really don't. I just don't know. And it also depends like what kind of moves they make in that, and the other. If they, don't end up keeping anybody around except for J.J. McCarthy, then maybe we have our answer there. But I genuinely, I don't think we're going to know any answers until 5 months from now.
It is a super intriguing stretch of time for the Minnesota Vikings. And I want us to talk ourselves into a couple blockbuster deals on the other side of this break. There are reports about Myles Garrett and Cooper Kupp, both on the trade block. Can you talk yourself into a deal for the Minnesota Vikings? Whether you like it or not, talk yourself into a Kupp deal and a Garrett deal when we return on the Minnesota Football Party. Brought to you today by Game Time. How can you get to the next big event? Is it the biggest event down in New Orleans on Sunday? Game Time could help with that if you're going down to the Big Easy. Maybe it's local. Maybe it's Target Center tonight as the Wolves take on the Bulls. You can get last-minute tickets easily with Game Time. Whether it's comedy, concerts, or, of course, sports, you get the right price without the big headache. Game Time Picks is the curation feature that makes ticket buying simple. With Game Time, they filter the fluff. You don't waste time going through listings. They show you the best deals. You can grab super deals for prime seats, and you won't believe the value. I'm telling you. Get the seat view, good panoramic angle from your seat so you know exactly where you're sitting. And if you find a better deal somewhere else, Game Time's going to refund 110% of the difference. Tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time. Easy cancellation options as well if something comes up. Make your next event even better. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, rolling on. Locked On Sports Minnesota. Make sure to check out the Ron Johnson Show on Tuesdays. He weighed in on Kupp. Was it? Yeah, he talked Cooper Kupp in the first segment yesterday. And then also I think we touched on Myles Garrett later in the show. Here's today's exercise. I want us to convince ourselves and other Vikings fans, make an argument why the Vikings should try and acquire these two players. If you want to confess that you don't actually like it, if you want to be honest about that, that's fine, but you got to talk yourself into it. So I'm going to give Ron the first crack, just 30 seconds to a minute on Cooper Kupp, why it makes sense for the Vikings.
I don't even need 30 seconds to a minute. I don't want Myles Garrett, and I do want Cooper Kupp. I don't want Myles Garrett because he's not a 3-4 linebacker. Like, again, I will take him if he will play the 5 technique. If he can play the wide 5 and, like, maybe drop down to the 3, but he cannot take on a run of a center guard. Like, he is built to get off the edge. This guy has, like, he's right with, like, Jared Allen, and I forgot the numbers. I forgot who else was up there. I think Reggie White of like the most sacks. I think he has like 102.5 sacks in his 20s, which is like Jared Allen and Reggie White which is Hall of Fame stats. This guy's a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer in a 4-3 defense, just like Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter needed to be in a 4-3 defense to do what he's doing. I mean, killing it. That's where I see Myles Garrett going, somewhere that will allow him to just play defense end. Cooper Kupp, on the other hand, the only reason I would say do it is you get like a better, faster, younger Adam Thielen, a guy that can block down the field, a guy that knows Kevin O'Connell's offense, and a guy that can really help play the second fiddle to Justin Jefferson and not really care and not really bring up anything like I'm not getting the ball in the games. I don't know what that package would look like. My guess is you'd have to give up Jordan Addison to get Cooper Kupp, and then you'd have to work on like a sign and trade trade and sign type deal where you're like, hey, man, you got an $80 million deal for 3 years. We cannot afford that. But here's what we can do. And I think that could work.
Okay. Julia, make the case for Cooper Kupp.
It's like the last thing that the Vikings need is another receiver, right? Like that's their.
No, convince me. Don't tell me why it doesn't work. Tell me why it does work.
I think I don't know. Cooper Kupp is how old? And he hasn't
31.
played. How old is he? 31?
31.
He has not played as well as he did his Super Bowl season since the Super Bowl season. I think I wouldn't even say that Jordan Addison would be. I mean, Cooper Kupp, I think, has a lot of like name value too, but I would say like if you trade like Jalen Naylor and some other, maybe something else, throw it in there, and then you have Cooper Kupp on your roster. And but I think that I would not give up Jordan Addison for Cooper Kupp. I think if I was the Vikings, and it wouldn't never happen, but if I was to do this, I mean, the only thing I would be offering is like a Jalen Naylor at that point.
All right, Reggie. I'm not convinced.
Wait. So you would rather trade Jalen Naylor for Cooper Kupp, and you don't think that's what your deal is, or?
I just genuinely don't see a world ever. I would never try and convince anybody that Jordan Addison and Cooper Kupp. I don't think that would. I don't think Cooper Kupp's worth that anymore. I think
Jordan Addison, he's in trouble with the law. He could be suspended for some of next year. Maybe a little unpredictable.
Yeah.
And stat-wise, Cooper Kupp in 11 games basically almost did what Jordan Addison did off injury. He's a blocker. He's big. He gave Brian Flores fits. I don't know.
Julia, I want you to have a yes mindset.
He's a triple crown. He's a former triple crown guy that was like 2 years.
Yeah, in 20. What was that?
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
2 years ago. He was hurt this year. That was the only thing that happened. And Puka Nacua happened. So, I don't know.
We're just the best out.
Better than Jordan Addison?
Yes.
I think
lots of reasons why it doesn't make sense. Julia's aware of those. Reggie, I want you to be the defense attorney who knows the client is guilty, and you still sway the jury.
I think it's money.
All right. Here goes. So does it have to be via trade? Because I think it probably comes down to a case that he just gets cut. They probably just cut him, and then he's on the open market for anybody to have. Is that a scenario, Sam, or are we saying strictly has to be gotten by trade?
That could happen, but they're saying the Raiders. Like, there's some teams that are going to make that trade, so that's the problem. But yeah, no, he could get cut, but I don't think they'll want to eat that salary. I think they're going to trade him like DeAndre Hopkins, pennies in his prime.
So
let's say it's a trade.
Trade? Okay. All right. Well, Kwesi has been known to deal a few picks in his day, and so maybe you give a mid-round pick or something like that up for him. But I'm just envisioning a scenario where you have 4 wide, 5 wide, and you got Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, Kupp, Hockenson. Pick your poison. You want to double Jets? Fine. He'll find whoever he is at quarterback. You'll find Addison, or you'll find Kupp. Like, one thing about Cooper Kupp is, even at this point in his career, he's a guy who can get open. And so you trust that he'll find the void. He's so crafty in the fact that he's run so many routes, and he ran so many of those routes in 2021. And so you got 2 potential triple crown guys with Jefferson and Kupp. Like, he's going to always find a way to get open, and he's going to be like a security blanket. If it is J.J. McCarthy moving forward, he's going to have a guy who he knows that, going through his reads, like, this is a guy who probably is going to be open. And so you look at a guy who has the career that Kupp has, and in 2021, he was inevitable. Everybody knew Stafford was throwing the ball to him, and they still couldn't get him. I'm thinking about the deep play against Tampa to put Tom Brady down, where he goes deep over the middle. Stafford throws a bomb. He catches it, puts them in field goal position, and they win. They beat the Bucs. year after they won the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And so I'm thinking about that Cup, because Cup said that he is as healthy as he's ever been right now. And he said he had the best training camp of his career, before the season started. That injury that he had, yeah, maybe it gives you a little bit of pause, because, those hamstring injuries they were talking about, it could be like a nerve type problem. Maybe that does give you pause. But now he's a guy who comes into a system where he's not the guy. And so now, he is able to be a decoy sometimes. He's able to go out there and win against maybe number 2, number 3 corner on the field. I just think of a scenario where you're looking at like the greatest show on turf 2 3.0 with all those guys out there with Cooper Kupp. I think that's how it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that it's not as ludicrous as some would make it seem. I think that if you can now, again, consider the salary. You are doing the Rams a favor by taking that salary off their books. I don't think Kupp is, and like Ron said, I think it might be pennies on the dollar compared to what he was worth 3 years ago. If you can give up like a 2027 second round pick or third round pick, kind of like you did with Hawkinson, right? You gave up a future draft pick and got a player that can really contribute to your offense. And you just doubled down on building the best passing game you can around J.J. McCarthy. You get Kupp for 2 years. You keep Jordan Addison around. Then in 2 years, Kupp's money comes off the books. You give that money to Addison with his extension, and you still have 2 elite wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, Kevin O'Connell, great relationship. Kevin O'Connell drew up a lot of concepts for Cooper Kupp when he won the Triple Crown in 2021. I think that it would change your offense. You would be spreading out more with wide receivers, fewer tight ends. You can cut Josh Oliver maybe. Cooper Kupp, my dog's going crazy. I don't know if you can hear that. Cooper Kupp could block on the outside, help your run game. I think that there's actually some benefits to it. Think about how Adam Thielen, people thought he was washed at about age 31, right? He was kind of banged up. He was overshadowed by Justin Jefferson. He went and had success in Carolina. So I'm not completely calling Kupp's career over after his subpar year with the Rams, because again, he kind of got overshadowed by Puka. Now, Ron, you already closed the door on Myles Garrett. You said absolutely not. But I need you to change your mindset and tell me why Myles Garrett could make sense.
The only way it makes sense is he finds out how to play outside linebacker. The money, the ability. I think you're going back to a square peg in a round hole. Again, the way it would work, if it could work, I would not give up Van Ginkel or Grenard. I wouldn't give up anything. You're basically trying to maximize and lose more picks, maybe give up a bunch of guys that you don't really need. Maybe give up a defensive lineman and put him in the 5 technique. That's the only way that works for me. Like, he has to be able to play the 5 technique, be willing to get down in the trenches, still kind of be an outside DN, but you're going to really rush at the tackle in between the tackle guard. You're not coming off the edge as much. You will do some twists. There will be some stuff because he can stand up. But when it comes to dropping back, just know you are going to be considered like a slimmer Harrison Phillips type guy. Like, we need you to be a 5 technique, but be a slimmer Harrison Phillips. Like, that's where I see him working for the Minnesota Vikings. So that's where I would go with it.
Sam, you're muted, I think.
Thank you.
Julia.
Julia, can you convince me that Myles Garrett makes sense in Minnesota?
I think, are we talking about like what does he make sense with the team, or like what kind of trade makes sense for him?
Yeah, either one. Would you make it? How would you sell me if you wanted to acquire Myles Garrett? How would you sell me on it?
I think they're going to have to shell out some picks that they can't afford to shell out, but I think that's what is going to have to happen and give up so the depth there obviously is Van Ginkel, Grenard, you've got Dallas. Maybe you trade Dallas and some picks and you go pick up Myles Garrett. I mean, he is in his prime right now. But I think that's gonna have to be my you give up Turner, he's a first round pick, and then you give up some future picks, like maybe a second and a third round, or I don't know. It's tough because sorry, there was a cat hair floating around in front of me. Do you trade Grenard or Van Ginkel for Myles Garrett? Like, is it worth it at that point to do something like that? And then I still feel like you're going to have to give up at least one pick in order to do that too. But I'm going to go, you know what? I'm just going to go, you trade Dallas and you trade, I think you're going to have
Dallas and picks.
Yeah, Dallas and picks. But I think you're going to have to give up some pretty good picks as well there too.
All right, Reggie. Put on your defense attorney hat again.
So I think you probably have to part with Grenard or Van Ginkel to make this happen, along with some picks, because I just don't see. I like what Ron is saying, but like that's not a great way to use Myles Garrett and his ability. Yeah, he could probably do it and be effective there, but I just don't think that you're talking about a guy that, they have like hooping, like he's crossing over between his legs, like before the snap count, as he's moving around. And then when the ball is snapped, like he's rushing the passer and getting through and getting home. And so I think a guy like that, he needs to be on the field every time. And a guy like that, you have to sacrifice someone. I think you still want to see what you have with Dallas because, Van Ginkel is older and he is on a shorter deal. And maybe he's someone that Dallas steps in for in the future. And now you're looking at an edge of Turner and Garrett, rushing from the outside linebacker positions, which is kind of scary. I don't think you part with a first round pick easily, kind of like the McCarthy deal that I was saying. And so, but you think about like, I think you probably have to part with Grenard. As good as Grenard is, I think because Van Ginkel is so versatile in that defense, and you look at a guy who, he's rushing, but all of a sudden he's catching a pass off the edge and taking it back for a pick six, like, and you can move Van Ginkel around so much. And then you combine that with the versatility that you can have with Garrett as well. I think you probably would have to part with Grenard and some picks to get it done. But I think, you're like, okay, yeah, we're trading one productive player for another who is a future Hall of Famer. And a guy who's hungry as well. Not that Grenard is hungry, like, look, I don't like this exercise because Sam, you're making me, I really like Jonathan Grenard and I like Grenard in that defense as well. But, you're making me have to choose, and there's only so many snaps on that defense. And, Grenard is a guy that you would have to keep out there all the time. And so is Garrett. So you would have to probably put one for the other, but I just can't. I don't think you justify letting Dallas Turner go after a year.
I think Gink is the guy that you would have to trade. He's entering the final year of his deal, so you'd be trading him at a high, like I said with Darnold. You're trading him high when his value is the highest it's ever been. You trade him with 1 year left on his deal. Instead of negotiating that extension, you're basically lumping that into what you're going to have to pay Myles Garrett. The big issue is that Garrett has a contract albatross hanging over his head, 2027, $40 million in dead money. So he's gone, and you're paying $40 million. That's more than the Vikings paid for Kirk this past year. So that's pretty problematic. Kwesi would have to do some cap gymnastics, I think, to restructure that deal. But again, double down on what you're already really good at. Be a terror for opposing passing games. If you had Garrett on one side, Grenard on the other, Turner developing as your number 3, that's an absolute monster pass rushing unit. Then you just have to draft a defensive tackle. You draft somebody in the first round who can play a little DT, get after the passer that way, and you're talking about a defensive line group that would rival like San Francisco a couple of years ago. That would be a legitimate unit. Super Bowl, bold predictions when we return on the Minnesota Football Party. Brought to you today by Prize Picks. It's the best way to play daily fantasy sports. Over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded. Prize Picks makes it fun and simple to get in the action. You can win 1,000 times your cash with your entry, going more or less on at least 2-player projections. And right now, for the big game, they've got basically a free pick. Patrick Mahomes just needs to throw for 1 yard to get a win. You pair that with another correct pick, and you, my friend, are cashing out. I like the flex play with Prize Picks as well. You don't have to be perfect, but you still cash out if you go 3 of 4 or 4 of 5. You can check out the promos tab for the Super Bowl to tail any of the super sweet Millie winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly. After you play your first $5 lineup, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly. After you play your first $5 lineup, Prize Picks, run your game. Super Bowl Sunday coming up. Chiefs, Eagles. It's our bold prediction segment. And this can be anything. This can be national anthem. It can be coin toss, halftime show, commercials, stuff happening on the field, Taylor Swift. I don't care. Reggie, give me a bold prediction for the Super Bowl.
I think that Travis Kelce is going to have 150 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns.
Kelce, 150, 2 TDs, and then after the game, he announces his retirement and proposes to Taylor. Is that what you said? Did I get that right?
maybe the second, but he definitely said he wants to play for at least like 3 more years. But I think he has some like youth like movement in the game of some sort, and all of a sudden he looks like Travis Kelce from 5 years ago, because for some reason he brings his best in the postseason. And you know, even though he's moving in slow motion, guys are missing tackles left and right.
Am I frozen in a really weird position for anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
But
Ron, you talk about bold predictions. I'm going to pop out and come back in.
So my pro prediction is I'm stealing this because I looked up some numbers and I saw Dan Orlovsky's tweet about it. I'm going with Devonta Smith is going to have 6+ catches, 90+ yards, and a TD. He's also going to have an explosive, because when you think about what the Chiefs defense has done, which is predicated on Chris Jones and those guys getting after the quarterback, the problem with getting after Jalen Hurts is if you do not keep him contained, that gives the receivers more time to get downfield. I think that's going to be what's going to happen. There's going to be a Devonta Smith explosive play. We know we're going to have an A.J. Brown, but I think Devonta Smith's been quiet the last few because they haven't passed the ball well. So I think that's the bold prediction. Everybody's, because Jalen Hurts, even, I mean, Julie remembers that. He did the press conference looking like $1 million, talking about, is that what y'all wanted? 3 touchdown throws, blah, blah. Like, so he knows, the world knows Jalen Hurts hasn't been what he's supposed to be. Devonta Smith is my bold prediction. I don't know. What you got, Reggie? Or no, was it Julia or Reggie? Who didn't go?
It's me.
Yep. What you got?
I kind of like that, Ron. I like that. D-Smitty. I mean,
A little roll tide. A little roll tide.
Too. Huh?
Say a little roll tide. A little roll tide Super Bowl action.
In there. I like that. My bold prediction, if we're going football, if we're talking things bold, I would love to see, obviously this is a career game just in general because it's a Super Bowl, but I would love to see Saquon Barkley just run all over everybody. And I would love to see something even better than the backwards hurdle.
That's going to be tough.
I know it's tough, but this is the Super Bowl, guys.
He's going to cartwheel a missed tackle or two.
He's going to like front flip over somebody or yeah.
Another prediction, there's going to be a They Not Like Us Super Bowl commercial. Some company is going to use the They Not Like Us in there somehow. I don't know who. I don't know if it's gonna be State Farm. I don't know if it's gonna be Gatorade saying that everybody's not like that. Like somebody's gonna have that, and Drake is gonna be punching the air somewhere.
I mean, they're gonna have it during the Super Bowl halftime show.
I would love, like, I don't know if you guys saw the Drake the recent well, you might, Julie. I don't know if you follow Drake, but he just did a concert and had bullet holes in his shirt, and then out the back of the shirt had smoke coming out the back, like he's basically saying, I'm still standing and I took all these shots. I feel like I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I would love for Kendrick Lamar to bring him, because they actually have songs together. Like, they've done songs together in the past, and that's what's so funny about this beef.
I think Drake has been excommunicated from the entertainment industry.
I would love to see them bring him back out on stage, and they just like squash the beef.
Not while SZA is there. No. Not
here's a bold prediction. The halftime show is going to up the entertainment value by even more, because while Kendrick is performing, Drake is going to come out WWE style, like, oh my God, it's Drake's music. RKO. And just come out there and clothesline Kendrick Lamar and drop the people's elbow on him while he's performing, and then pick up the mic and start doing his
I don't know. They might have the whole West Coast on the stage for this. I mean, the pop out was big enough. Like, if it's in New Orleans, I mean, he might bring the entire like LA Rams team up. I don't know. Like, he's gonna do something. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's my prediction for that one. Do we have Sam back? Are you back, Sam?
So I think we've got some serious camera issues. Let's see if I'm still frozen. I think I am. Yep. So we're gonna be audio only for the rest of the show.
That looks like the meme of that dog. Like, I don't know if you remember that meme, the dog looking like this, and that was like, yeah, that one, Reggie. Yep, that's what Sam's pose looks like. Like, that looks like the meme of that dog that's like giving people the side eye, or that little girl like with her sister. Have you ever seen the whole video of that? The little girl that makes the face like, but it's her sister saying the crying over Disney World. And then the mom pans to the other daughter. She's like, are you really crying over Disney World? Like, oh man, that is the funniest, especially when you see the whole context of it. But we got our Super Bowl prediction. Sam, do you have a prediction for the Super Bowl? Mine was Devontae Smith. Julia wants a Saquon Barkley bigger moment. And Reggie's.
Yeah, I heard that. I was going to say something about Drake. Like, Drake is going to be the biggest loser of the Super Bowl because of, who's performing halftime. It sounds like we covered that already.
Drake might come out on stage. Like, Drake might come out on stage.
No, that's not
or maybe there's a Drake hologram. Maybe there's a Drake hologram that Kendrick raps about.
What are the odds on the parlay of Drake on stage plus a Travis Kelce proposal? What would that pay?
Travis Kelce proposal plus a what is
plus
it?
A Drake
retirement. Travis Kelce retires and proposes to Taylor Swift.
Yeah. What are the odds I'm getting? Because I think I'd like to place a little wager.
Both are zero.
So next one we got what? Choose your food.
Yeah, let's choose our elite Super Bowl party. I want you to craft your ultimate Super Bowl spread. Tell me how big you want your party to be, beverages, how you're watching the game. Give me, Ron, I know you're passionate about this. Give me three critical Super Bowl food items.
Yeah, we've done this like every year. We've had like Gabe Henderson, friends of ours, other friends. But like recently, I know we've been doing some stuff with some Vikings front office people. So I think they're doing another one again. So we're probably going to go to that. I think it's like 22 people is what I counted on the thing. I think that's a good number. Like when it gets to like the 40s and 50s, it just becomes more like a gathering and you don't even talk to everybody. I think the 20s kind of keeps everybody around the TV in big moments of the game. Like when you get bigger than that, you have some people in the kitchen, you have some people in the basement, like people are all over the place. I like when it stays kind of intimate where everybody's kind of around the area. Food, I got to go at wings, deep fried wings or air fried wings, either one. Give me some 3-layer dip. I need dips and chips with guac, some type of turkey meat, or just guac, cheese, salsa, sour cream, chives, little tomato, and then another food. I don't know a third food. I'm just good with the wings, but like loaded fries. Like I want some loaded fries or something. That's about it. I'm like the charcuterie board and all that. You can keep that. And my beverage of choice, of course, is going to be a nice little old fashioned.
Miss me with the charcuterie board, Ron says. Doesn't want any of that. No prosciutto for his Super Bowl
Keep that
party.
over there. I'll take some cheese and crackers, but I don't need the whole board.
Little yeah, I would I'd go a little pigs in a blanket. You can go with the minis, so you can eat a lot of them. Baked mac and cheese, something filling, something hearty with a lot of dairy. And then the wings. I mean, Ron's right. You got to have a wings spread, sauce them up, slather them, some different flavors. Got to have it like a flight of chicken wings in front of me for a Super Bowl. Julia, how about you?
First and foremost, we have to have the Rotel dip. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Reggie probably knows what that is. It's Velveeta. It's a whole block of Velveeta cheese melted with Rotel, and then you make like taco meat. So you like brown up ground beef, and then you season it with taco seasoning, and then you put it in there, and it's like this meat and cheese dip, and it's the best thing ever. So Rotel dip, I always make pigs in a blanket, and what do we always have? I feel like I always make guac every year too. So probably that. My drink of choice for a football game, I'd probably go either a seltzer or a marg.
Spicy marg or like what you got?
I like spicy
Mango.
marg, or I like the skinny margs because they're not so sweet. They're more sour.
I like a mango margarita.
Yeah, or a blood orange margarita is pretty good.
Oh,
Ron's gonna have some of those in Mexico in a couple.
I am. That's the first thing. That's the best part about it is when you arrive at the location. Normally when we go in the Super Bowls there, they have like a big Super Bowl spread for it. But yeah, when you arrive at the location, they take your bags, then you get a complimentary margarita. So you pick whether it's I think it's tamarind is what it's called, a tamarind margarita or something, and then or the mango is the other one. I always go for the mango.
Julia, are you brand loyal to a certain seltzer? I've been on the search for.
But I already have my pesos. I already start picking up pesos.
No, I'm not. I will drink a High Noon, a White Claw. What else is there? I don't even know.
My favorite, and I struggle to find it in stores sometimes, but Surly brand. It's called the Nice Breaker.
Oh,
Nice Breaker from Surly, my favorite seltzer. Reggie, what's your elite spread?
So yeah, it has to start with Rotel. I make Rotel every year for the Super Bowl. Like it never fails. I use ground turkey though, just because I try to stay away from some beef sometimes. Also, gotta do pizza. Like that's
about that one. That's a good one.
Pizza, wings. If you're feeling fancy, maybe some meatballs or little smokies, either or.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is crazy. Nothing green really on the plate on Super Bowl. So, like it's not to be healthy. Like ain't no salads,
no asparagus,
no broccoli, none of that. Like it's just all full-fledged gluttony. And then with all that dairy on the menu, and I don't drink, so black remedy for everything. Gotta wash it down with like a ginger ale.
Oh yeah, gotta have the ginger ale.
Yeah,
Verner's for those from Detroit. Reggie, I was gonna say, so I know that I saw the commercial. They're not a sponsor, so I'm not gonna say which brand of pizza, but pizza or wings, which one is the main attraction when they're together? Is it pizza and then wings are like the co-star, or is it like the wings and the pizza is the co-star?
It's all about the wings, man. Like the pizza is playing Robin to Batman. Pizza is very necessary, but the wings are the star of the show.
Have you seen that commercial?
I have not.
Okay. You'll probably see it during the Super Bowl, I'm guessing. Because there's another one out there with the NFL players that just got released with Bounty, and they're playing wingmen to each other.
Yeah, but like if there's a situation where there are pizza and wings being served, like they both are gotten together. And if you're going in for seconds, I probably go wings before I go another slice.
I feel like pizza is the star, but maybe that's because I'm thinking of who started the pizza and wings bit, because it's a pizza place. Yeah. So I felt like pizza's the star, wings are the backup. Like, I don't know.
They go hand in hand, though.
They do. But I do like that one with the meal. I do like a good pizza and wing. I'm gonna have to make sure I text the group to make sure that's if somebody's not bringing pizza, I will order Red Savoys.
So if you're in a big group, are you shouting, "Hey, quiet down, the game's on," or are you shouting, "Hey, hey, quiet down, the commercials are on. Which team are like? Would you rather hear the game or hear the commercials?
The commercials.
Yeah,
I think the commercials, but I'm not doing either. Like I'm letting the vibe go with what everybody
dang,
does.
that's how I am, Ron. I'm
Yeah.
just there. As long as it's not my team playing, like I'm just
Yeah, I don't
having
care.
a great
I'm
time.
letting the vibe go. I think everybody naturally, like when a good commercial comes up, everybody naturally kind of gets quiet to see how outrageous it's going to get, because we know there's some that push the limits of sexuality and, you know, candies, having babies and stuff. So I know there's always there's always that one, at least everybody is shocked, like, oh, okay, they really just wanted to sell a Kit Kat, I guess. Okay.
In closing, let's all laugh at my freeze frame one more time. There it is.
You're very certain of what
For
you're
those that are
saying,
not
though.
on YouTube, oh my goodness, you have to go to YouTube and see Sam's freeze frame, because
Absolutely
that was
haunting.
Sam. The funniest is that's your face when you're doing the commercial read. That's what made it even funnier.
Oh
like-
no.
Yes, when you did the commercial read, that was what was on the screen. That was hilarious.
My camera may have died in real time. Like it's just frozen in
Oh.
perpetuity. Unplugged it and everything, and it still remembers that freeze frame. All right. We don't need to see that anymore. That's terrifying. Minnesota football party with our Care 11 friends every Wednesday. Enjoy the Super Bowl, please. Enjoy your friends, family, and food and football and FanDuel. Check out FanDuel as well.
In
And,
New Orleans, grease those poles for those Eagles fans, just in case.
There you go. Everybody stay safe. Have a good Super Bowl, and we will talk to you next time.